This week we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of the ordination of women in the Episcopal Church. It's been a great celebration here in San Francisco, and it's not something to take for granted. You know, most of the large denominations in the United States do not allow women to serve in churches in the way that men do. I have in mind particularly the Southern Baptist Church, the Roman Catholic Church. And so it's a special thing, and we're not taking it lightly. After one of the services, a woman came up to me, and she was I could tell she needed to talk. She had very strong feelings, and she said adamantly, "I do not believe in the ordination of women." And I asked her why not. And she referred to Paul's first letter to Timothy, chapter 2. And the verse goes like this: "I permit no woman to teach or to have authority over a man. She is to keep silent." So we had a conversation about that. And I told her that every single thing that we experience has to be interpreted, and certainly everything that we see in the Bible. And not only that, but there is a way in which this verse is very much of an outlier. It comes from a letter that is attributed to the Apostle Paul, but is very different than the kind of letters that we have that Paul wrote to the Romans, to the Thessalonians, to the Corinthians, the Galatians, etc. It differs in its style, it differs in the grammar he uses, it differs in even the way he uses words. And so it's most certainly not the same person who wrote this. And it is kind of an obscure section of the New Testament that makes this very, very strong statement. I told her I really believe that if you want to understand the mind of Christ, it's much more reliable to go to the gospel witness. The gospels show us who Jesus is. And in those Gospels, we see, this week we're celebrating the feast of Mary Magdalene. She was the first witness of Jesus' resurrection. And according to all four Gospel accounts, she was the one who was there at the tomb. She was the one who told the good news to the rest of the apostles. So Jesus did not make these big, harsh, and strict divisions between men and women. Jesus invited all people into community with one another. Now, the people who were suspicious of Jesus, the people who feared him, the people who tried to harm him ultimately, were people who had wealth, power in society, and authority. But people who were poor, people who were sick, people who were despised for different reasons, people who were outsiders, people who had done terrible things like collaborating with the Roman Empire. These people were drawn to Jesus. They loved him, and they felt his love for them. Jesus is about breaking down barriers between us, and Jesus is about giving everyone a chance to be heard. Now, I feel very, very fortunate about it's such a central part of the experience of women's ordination in the world. Bishop Pike, who was the bishop here in the 1960s, ordained Phyllis Edwards as a deacon. It was she was the first woman really to be called reverend who wasn't a nun. Then in 1970, the Episcopal Church began allowing women to participate in the General Convention. They would be able to be seated and have voice and be able to vote. And that was the beginning of a process of deciding to include women completely in the church. Now, it wasn't yet, they hadn't yet voted to ordain women. The Philadelphia 11 were ordained irregularly. They were ordained before that vote had taken place. But these women were extraordinarily courageous. And I'm so fortunate that I've had them in my life. Carter Hayward was one of the Philadelphia 11. She was a theology professor I had. Sue Hyatt was also another one of the Philadelphia 11, and she also taught me when I was a student at Episcopal Divinity School. These women had tremendous power, tremendous intellects, and really, really carried this prophetic weight in such a graceful way. They're extraordinary examples, the perfect people who you'd want to have be in that first class of people who were ordained. Now, I was also fortunate that just as a child, when I was in middle school, our congregation had two women as clergy associated with our parish. At St. Martin's in Davis, Suzanne Paglin was there and Mary Goshert. And the two of them showed me, I'd never seen a woman priest before, no one had, and they showed me what it would be like. They gave me a picture of what the future of the church would be. Now, I don't mean to essentialize and say men are one way and women are another way, but I really do believe that you can make much better decisions as a body when you include all sorts of different kinds of perspectives. And I've seen the church begin to make much better decisions as a result of including more different types of people. And not only that, but the style of the church has really changed too. When I was a young man, and even the older clergy I know, there was a sense of competition, a sense of authoritarian, a kind of more authoritarian spirit that was in the church, a less collaborative one. And I feel so grateful that having women be fully participating in the church has really changed the way that we interact with one another. I think we're much more compassionate. I think we're much more open to opinions and ideas that we wouldn't have been able to listen to otherwise. In short, I think we don't, if you would refuse to have women as your teachers, you would miss so much in the life of faith. You would be diminished as a person without hearing that voice. And I'm so grateful for my theology professors, for my pastors, for all the women who are my colleagues, who've taught me so much about what it means to be a follower of Jesus Christ. My name is Malcolm Clemens Young. I'm the Dean of Grace Cathedral here in San Francisco, California. Thanks for watching. More good news.